My name is Sia, a woman adored by millions for my voice, my music, and my mystery. Married to a Hollywood darling, Robinson, and mother to a son the world now calls a sensation, Jeffrey, my pride and pain. But behind the dazzling lights, the red carpets, and platinum records, was a storm I never saw coming. And God forgive me, I let him kiss me. His lips were warm, hesitant, trembling as if waiting for rejection. But I didn't stop him. My hand slid behind his neck. Our kiss deepened. The sound of rain swallowed the silence, the morality, the last pieces of my restraint. It started with a look, and ended in a betrayal I'll carry till the day I die. This is my truth. Judge me if you must. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, do well to subscribe and hit on notifications. To all my returning subscribers, thank you for always watching my videos. The sun was lazy that morning, half hidden behind clouds as if it too sensed the tension that hung in the air. I stood by the window, arms folded, my reflection merging with the Malibu ocean view beyond the glass. My heart beat faster than it should have. Not because of a concert, not because of a new record, but because my son was coming home. Jeffrey. He had always been the light in my world, even when the fame got heavy and the cameras wouldn't leave me alone. He was my baby, my only child, my miracle. And now at 27 he was a man. A fine one too, famous in his own right, adored on social media, modeling for the biggest brands, even releasing a few singles. He was becoming everything Robinson and I ever hoped for. But the moment I saw him step out of that black SUV, dragging his suitcase and flashing that boyish smile, I felt something unfamiliar, something I didn't want to admit. He looked taller, stronger. His chest filled out his t-shirt, and his stubble made him look older than I remembered. His hair was tied back in a messy bun, sunglasses perched on his head. But it was his eyes, those warm dark eyes, that undid me. "Mom," he said, opening his arms, still looking like a rock star. I laughed, trying to keep it casual. "And you look like trouble." He hugged me tight. His scent lingered, cologne and sweat and something entirely him. When he pulled away, his hands stayed on my waist for a second longer than they should have. Robinson joined us minutes later, smiling, clapping Jeffrey's back with pride. I watched them, father and son, Hollywood icons in one frame. Robinson looked good for his age, but he seemed more tired lately. The sparkle in his eyes had dulled, and his kisses had become routine. We were more business partners than lovers now. The three of us sat at the patio table, laughing over wine and stories from Jeffrey's travels. He had just come back from Spain, where he shot a perfume ad in a castle. He spoke confidently, his voice deeper now, charming, magnetic. I caught myself staring. That night, as I lay beside Robinson in our king-size bed, I couldn't sleep. My body was beside my husband, but my mind replayed Jeffrey's smile, the curve of his jaw, the way his hand lingered. I felt sick, ashamed, terrified. What kind of mother thinks like this? But it wasn't thinking. It was feeling. And feelings don't knock before they enter. The days that followed were filled with moments I couldn't explain. Jeffrey would walk shirtless into the kitchen, and I'd pretend not to look. But I always did. He'd joke with me, sometimes touch my arm when he laughed, and every touch felt like fire. I convinced myself it was just the bond we had. Maybe I was just lonely. Maybe it was harmless. Until one evening after dinner, when Robinson went to take a call upstairs, Jeffrey and I found ourselves alone in the living room. I turned on some old jazz and sat by the fireplace. He walked over and stood behind me, then slowly began massaging my shoulders. "You've been tense, Mom," he said softly. I closed my eyes. His hands were strong, gentle, too gentle. "Jeff, this isn't." "I know," he whispered, still not stopping. "But you don't have to pretend with me." I stood up quickly, heart racing. "I'm going to bed," I muttered. He didn't stop me. He just watched as I walked away. But I knew something dangerous had started. something we couldn't undo. It was a Thursday evening, warm and golden. The kind of evening that begged for laughter, music, and memories. Jeffrey's 27th birthday. We hosted the party in our backyard overlooking the Pacific. Lanterns swayed in the breeze. Soft lights wrapped around palm trees. And laughter echoed from every corner of the estate. Celebrities came in clusters. Models, actors, producers. Everyone wanted to be seen with Jeffrey. But all I saw was him. He stood by the pool, a whiskey in hand, dressed in a fitted black shirt with the sleeves rolled halfway up his arms. He looked like a dream. My son. My obsession. I hated myself for it. Robinson was charming the guests, as always, telling stories from his latest movie shoot. He'd thrown the whole event together. But I don't think he realized I wasn't paying attention to any of it. My eyes kept drifting to Jeffrey. And worse, his eyes kept drifting to me. I sipped champagne, laughing too loudly at conversations I wasn't even following. But when Jeffrey walked up to me, took my hand and whispered, "Dance with me?" My heart skipped. I should have said no. I should have laughed it off like the mother I was supposed to be. Instead, I said yes. The music shifted into something slow, sultry. An old jazz tune that melted into the night air. He pulled me close, one hand on my waist, the other holding mine gently. We swayed to the rhythm, surrounded by dozens of people, yet somehow alone. "Still remember how to slow dance," he teased. "You taught me, remember?" I replied, forcing a smile. He looked down at me, eyes intense. "I remember everything." My breath caught in my throat. His hand pressed slightly firmer on my lower back. I felt the heat rise to my face. I glanced around, terrified someone might notice how close we were. How my fingers gripped his shirt just a little tighter than they should. "You shouldn't look at me like that," I whispered. He leaned closer, lips near my ear. Then stopped looking back. God help me, I didn't stop. After the dance, I escaped to the kitchen, needing air, needing space, needing clarity. My hands shook as I poured another glass of wine. The guilt was clawing at my chest. Yet underneath it something darker. Desire. It disgusted me. He followed me minutes later. "Did I make you uncomfortable?" he asked, his voice low. I turned to him, lips parted, unsure of what to say. My mind screamed yes. My heart? It stayed silent. "It's just we're close, that's all," I said weakly. Jeffrey stepped toward me. "You feel it too, don't you?" "I'm your mother," I said quickly, harshly, trying to cut through the moment. "But you're also a woman." That did it. I slapped him, not hard, but enough to draw a line. His jaw clenched. He didn't speak, just walked out the back door into the night, leaving me trembling, alone with shame. Later, when everyone had left and Robinson was snoring softly upstairs, I crept into Jeffrey's room to check on him. His door was cracked open, the light dim. He was lying on the bed, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. "I'm sorry," I whispered. He turned to me, eyes tired, almost sad. "I'm not." I stood there, caught between the mother I used to be and the woman I was becoming. I wanted to leave, but I didn't. And that was the beginning of everything I was about to lose. It had been days since the party. Since the dance. Since the look. I kept my distance. Pretended to be busy with a virtual interview, a studio meeting, anything that would place a wall between us. Robinson had flown to Canada to start filming his next action thriller. I was alone in the house with Jeffrey. And then it rained. Not the soft Malibu drizzle we get in spring, but a heavy, angry downpour. The kind that shakes windows and stirs something deep inside you. I always found rain romantic, comforting even. But that afternoon, it became the soundtrack to my ruin. Jeffrey was in the living room, shirtless again, his sweatpants hanging dangerously low on his hips. He was watching a documentary, sprawled across the couch like he owned the world. His presence filled the space, and my senses. I should have turned around. I should have climbed the stairs and locked myself in the bedroom. Instead, I made tea. "Want some?" I asked from the kitchen doorway, pretending to be casual. He smiled lazily, Only if you're having it with me. I carried the mugs over and sat beside him. There was too much silence, too much tension packed into every second. The rain pounded harder outside, and inside, something even louder was rising. I've missed this, he said suddenly. What? You. Being home. Us just being. I sipped my tea and said nothing. He continued. You know, when I was away, I'd look at your photos all the time. Not the red carpet ones. The ones you'd send me. No makeup, wearing robes, hair a mess. Those were the real you. The one I stopped him with a hand. Jeffrey, don't. Why not? He asked, his voice cracking a little. Because it's wrong? Yes, I whispered. Exactly that. But you feel it. I know you do. He reached out and brushed a strand of hair from my cheek. My skin burned where his fingers touched. I stood up fast, my tea spilling on the rug. This can't happen, I said, backing away. Then why haven't you walked out? He asked. And I didn't have an answer. Minutes passed. I paced the hallway trying to collect myself. Thunder roared outside. My heart thudded louder. And then like a fool I went back. He was still on the couch, eyes closed like he hadn't moved at all. But when I sat beside him again, something shifted. We were no longer pretending. He turned to me slowly, one hand reaching for mine. We don't have to talk, he murmured. Just be here. With me. And God forgive me. I let him kiss me. His lips were warm, hesitant, trembling as if waiting for rejection. But I didn't stop him. My hand slid behind his neck. Our kiss deepened. The sound of rain swallowed the silence, the morality, the last pieces of my restraint. When it was over, we sat in silence. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just stared out the window, watching the rain blur the world. I should leave, he said softly. I shook my head. Not yet. That night, I stood at the edge of my bed, unable to crawl beneath the sheets next to Robinson's empty pillow. I felt hollow, heavy, haunted. I had crossed a line no mother should ever approach, and there was no going back. Guilt is a living thing. It breathes beside you, eats with you, stares at you in the mirror. Every step I took after that rainy afternoon felt like walking through glass. My reflection no longer belonged to me. My body didn't feel like mine. I had crossed into a place where nothing was pure anymore. And yet I didn't tell him to leave. Jeffrey stayed. He stayed for days. And we didn't speak of that kiss again, not directly. But every glance, every lingering pause in conversation, was louder than words. Then Robinson came home. I still remember the sound of his luggage wheels scratching the floor, his voice calling, "Honey, I'm home," like it meant something. I was in the kitchen, cutting lemons I had no plan to use. Jeffrey walked in just as Robinson wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Missed you, babe," Robinson said, kissing my neck. I flinched. Jeffrey froze at the doorway, eyes narrowing slightly. Robinson turned and smiled. "There's my boy. Still here, huh?" "Just for a few more days," Jeffrey replied, forcing a grin. The three of us sat down for dinner that night. Steak, wine, laughter. I was dying inside. Robinson talked about his trip, the freezing weather, the director's weird obsession with drones. Jeffrey laughed in all the right places, but I could feel the tension radiating between us like static. At one point, Robinson stood to refill our glasses. Jeffrey reached under the table and touched my knee. I nearly dropped my fork. I pushed his hand away. That night, Robinson and I lay in bed, but I couldn't sleep. His breathing was slow and steady. Safe. Familiar. I turned to face the ceiling, wondering what kind of monster I had become. Then he stirred beside me. "Sia," he whispered in the dark. Are you okay? You've been off lately." I wanted to cry. "I'm fine. Just tired." He sighed. "You know I love you, right?" I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. But I didn't say it back. The truth came out 2 days later. I don't know if Jeffrey told him. I don't know if he found a message or heard something he wasn't supposed to. Maybe it was just a husband's intuition. All I know is that I woke up to the sound of shouting. I ran downstairs barefoot, heart racing. And there was Robinson, standing in the living room holding Jeffrey's phone in one hand, shaking with rage. "What the hell is this?" he roared, thrusting the screen toward me. I didn't even need to look. Jeffrey stood silently across the room, jaw clenched, eyes glassy. "See ya." Robinson growled, turning to me. "Tell me this isn't what it looks like." I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. He laughed bitterly. "You slept with him?" "No." I choked. "No, I didn't sleep with him. But what?" His voice cracked. Jeffrey stepped forward. "Dad, don't." Robinson snapped. "Don't say a damn word." He turned to me, his voice lower now. "You were the one thing in this world I thought I could trust. My wife. The mother of my son. I didn't mean for this to happen," I whispered, tears spilling. "You fell in love with him, didn't you?" His voice broke, fragile and raw. I couldn't lie. I nodded. That night, Robinson left the house with a single suitcase. Jeffrey packed his bags the next morning. I sat on the floor of my studio, the silence louder than any melody I'd ever composed. I lost my husband, I lost my son, and I lost myself. What happened between Jeffrey and me was a tragedy. A fire we both fed, knowing it would destroy us. Now every time I sit at the piano I see his face. Not Jeffrey's. Robinson's. The man I loved. The man I betrayed. Have you ever imagined yourself in this kind of situation? What would you have done about it? Do well to subscribe and hit on notifications for more interesting stories like this.